welcome to Inside the Chain podcast show. It's super great to have you here.
Thank you, Matt. First of all, thank you for invitation. And it's always great to speak with the people who are in the supply chain and share the knowledge and the vision. And I think so that's very exciting.
Absolutely. So, Anna how do I pronounce your surname? It's
Just Anna.
well, Anna, I'm not going to get it wrong in that way then. Yeah, you're group operations leader. So you've got a logistics, warehousing, custom supply chain background. You're Estonian born, now Glasgow based. With experience, so you're spanning warehouse operations, customer leadership, transport, logistics, startup work, and international group transformation across UK, US, Taiwan, Malaysia. Yeah, real global footprints there. So yeah, welcome again. And I like to make I have what's called my listener promise. So yes, the listeners are going to hear today about how someone raised in a logistics family and trained from the warehouse floor up developed a view of supply chain as the only function that can genuinely see the whole business. They should come away with practical insights into root cause thinking, valid data and KPI discipline, why shadowing matters before changing anything, and how supply chain leaders can evolve into greater operational leadership when they are given visibility and trust. So yeah, my framing line as well is this episode is about why supply chain only works when you understand it from the beginning. Why firefighting is usually a symptom of poor preparation, and how a noisy, curious, root cause mindset can take someone from counting boxes in a freezing warehouse to leading group-wide operational change. So yeah, and of course that all comes from our prior discussions and just what you've done and your story, Anna. So yeah, I'll start with the first question. You grew up as I touched upon, you grew up in a logistics family in Estonia, with your father building the business from when you were very young. So how much did that environment shape the way you think about supply chain today?
I don't remember anything before I've been 3 years old, but that's exactly when my dad decided with his best friend to open the company. I've been exactly 3 years old. And as a daddy's daughter, I've been with him everywhere. That was the time that there been no internet connections in the houses. Only one computer we had. It was in his office. That's why I've been in his office all the time, evenings, weekends. And as every business owner, he was working 24/7. But as I call it, it was a very good time together, because he was taking me everywhere and I've been involved from the very young age. My dad worked in logistics for most of his career. So from a young age, I was surrounded by conversations about the warehouses, transport. I seen the old Scania trucks, man trucks, and seen how they progress from very small trucks to all this new self-driving trucks.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, for most children, that probably sounds incredibly boring, but for me, it just became normal.
Yeah.
What I learned wasn't just the logistics. I learned that every delayed delivery affects a customer, because that was all the conversation that I had around me. I seen how something going on and how that's frustration all the way around till he was speaking with the customers. Yeah. Looking back now, I realized I wasn't learning logistics. I was learning how the business actually works.
Yeah.
And that's the foundation that stayed with me through all my career as well.
Yeah, that's a super starting point. And yeah, I can really see that you were taught that understanding what the customer wants. And that's why we're here. We're nothing without our customers, aren't we? And to get that so early on, and as you say, exposed to the whole business. And then when you're a little older, I remember us talking about the being in the freezing cold warehouse. But at one point, I think did you when you maybe finished college, did you move away and you could have stayed in politics and working with
Yeah.
it within the government departments? I mean, yeah, instead your dad put you in the freezing cold warehouse for receiving shipments. So what did that teach you? But I suppose an office role, staying in that government sort of organisation, never would have done.
Yeah, as all of us, I think, so when we've been young and finishing universities, we were thinking we'll finish university, get this fancy job, uh, sitting in nice surrounding office with the bean bags and the free coffee, flowing. But that wasn't the reality, because when I finished my university, I've been blessed to be as an intern in Ministry of Economy in Estonia. But at this age, you want to change the world, but that's not the case. And it was one of the crises in the countries as well, because I wanted to find a job, of course, by myself. And then my dad said, come to a family company. But oh my God, we never agreed what I'm going to do. I was thinking I will come and sit in my dad's office and be his right hand. But when I joined, he said to me, yep, you're welcome. Let's start from the beginning, picking orders, loading goods, receiving deliveries, and making mistakes. And from this fancy Ministry of Economy with the high degree in the university, and in Estonia, during the winter, it's minus 38, not
Wow.
heated warehouses. That's no chance. That's why how I started. Of course, I've been very angry, thinking that that's what I'm doing here. But everything was in my hands. I started to see how it's done and started to do it better than another people do. Not because I've been faster, because I tried to create solutions, how to automate it, how to create spreadsheets, papers, reports, not to make an additional workload, but just to make it faster, because I wasn't enjoying this job.
Yeah, take the worst out of the system. I couldn't agree more. And and that's it. You started at the beginning, didn't you? You started, and then everything built up, I suppose, um, from that great base. Your, if your dad really, he knew the importance of getting it. He wanted you to understand it from the bottom, not just coming in at the top here. Here's my daughter. She's going to go into the company and in the exec role. He knew the importance that you would get from learning from the bottom up. I think that's really clear. So, but when you moved out of the counting boxes at picking, packing, and warehouse, I think you moved into now the customer facing responsibility.
Yeah.
Um, and I suppose my question here, when did you see that it was not just about doing those individual jobs and it was more about seeing the whole system and being part of maybe that whole system?
So when you start to think about solutions, when you, for the first time, you hear your customer, he wants a full package as the solution, just make my life easier. And then I understood with all the knowledge how we do this in the warehouse. And he tells us, I just want it to be delivered. I just don't want to do anything. And when you don't overcomplicate the customer's life, but you tell, that's how we're going to do this. That's how it will cost. That's your pain point. And because I overseen everything, it was very easy to put this together for our customers.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't believe you can optimize something if you don't fully understand this.
That is, I believe in that so strongly. And again, your dad put you there. He give you opportunity to learn it from the ground up. See, that's it. When, as you say, just removing those blockers, hearing what your customer wants, come up with solutions. But those solutions, you were able to step in yourself because you knew what the blockers were, you know what the challenges were, didn't you? Actually, at the coalface within that operation, and that's a really great message.
Yeah,
Uh,
I think so. Sorry to interrupt you. I think so. The very important is to understand that every process has another process waiting behind it. If you think like this and click a little bit of Japanese way of the thinking as well. Appreciate the next people, appreciate everything that happens after you. Like how they do in the World Cup, clean after themselves, because they know that there is another process after them, and they prepare everything what they can do now to make the next process as much easier. And that's the supply chain. You take every process, you look into that and make it as best as it could be, that the next process is very flawless as well. And if you think about that, because we all seen these people that try to do the bare minimum, but then someone else need to do much more after that, because there is a lot of gaps, a lot of issues, like planning, manufacturing, quality, shipping, invoicing, return. There is so many things. And I think so if you think about this Japanese way of caring of another people, employers, vendors, customers, then I think so it's much easier.
Brilliant. Well positioned. Understanding the system in which we operate, and understanding your internal, not just your external customer, but your internal customer. Really well said, Anna. When we met originally and talked, you talked about being a noisy person and asking a lot of questions, digging into root causes. We've touched upon this already, and refusing to accept bad habits. Is that the real supply chain mindset?
Absolutely. I have been the person who asking why. You don't need to let me know that, oh, if you have any questions, oh, I will. If not now, a little bit later. Why we do this way? Why we're measuring this? Why does this report exist? Sometimes that probably annoys people. But asking why is not about criticizing the process or something. It's about understanding. And if you change this in the mind, if nobody challenges all process or businesses slowly become collection of habits instead of the system. There should be someone who is asking why you do that. And sometimes when people answering you, they already question this process, and it works amazing in production in the warehouse. Because my way of working is never to telling the people what to do. While asking questions, 90% while they answer, they understand that they cannot answer. It means the gap, and they're like, oh, yeah, I don't know. The second you just say, I don't know, it's kind of answer, but it means that we need to fix some. Maybe SOP, maybe some documentation. Do you need some help? It's a magic tool. Just ask why. And I think so if you work in a supply chain, you can only change something if you know how to work and you know how to squeeze the information from the people, you know how to collaborate with the people, make them answer your question, make them believe that what you do, the change, it doesn't mean something. Maybe after all my whys, I will tell, you know what? Wow, it works amazingly. Nothing should be changed. That's why I think so. Yeah, to be noisy, it's actually very good.
Yeah, and I love your point there about if we don't really understand what's going on with the processes and systems, they can't answer that. It becomes a collection of habits. I think that's a really enlightening point there. We want a collection of good habits that people know what they're doing, not just a collection of habits that have been created but passed on it internally. Really good point. We've spoken previously again about you'd had a shift from 80% firefighting and 20% strategy to the reverse of that. What drove that change, and what did it do for your effectiveness and the way you thought?
That's a good question. At the beginning, definitely I measured success by how many problems I solved. I am the results-driven person. Every day, small win, amazing. And supply chain is amazing for that. If you want to have a lot of wins, see the progress, go to the supply chain. You will have the problems every day, something to solve, and the results are very easy. Keep a track from the day one, what you have done, the wins, and it's all the money. It's amazing how you can report this for the management as well, because in operations, whatever win it is, there is the money, there is the value behind it.
Yeah.
But now I'm still not on a 2080. I'm still on a way because some of the process that I look, they still require to be there 80% firefight for some team. Then you understand what are the problems. And then you try to switch all the process that it works without you, that only the problems are highlighted. It's like all the reports are not for the sake of the report. The reports only should highlight you what is wrong. You don't need to see what's good. It sometimes maybe just to feel you like, oh, how amazing. But for me, I have so much reports, so much data. I want to open it and see only the problems. Everything green, perfect. Then let's speak about the strategy. If there is issue, that's my 20%. It was not easy mentally to understand that there is no this quick wins. But again, if you look 880 and preferably 360, this just capture all the wins towards the big strategy. Never, if you're the person who loves this quick wins, take the big project, divide it by the small steps, and create a small wins in between. That's what I do because I need to understand that I'm moving correctly and the reports see this progress because I'm just the person. I need to do that. I'm doing the great job. It's just my personality. But once you build the visibility, clear ownership, standard processes, and a good reporting, many problems just will disappear before anyone can see them. And that's where the strategy begins, not by working harder, but smarter.
Yeah, and I like how you point there. Cut it up. I mean, we can say, don't boil the ocean, and don't do too much at once. It needs to be, yeah. If you want that, if you are that results driven person, small chunks so you can see the wins and those steps along the way. That keeps the energy going, doesn't it, to help you through that longer term strategy piece of delivery. And I think that really links in there with my next question. That you're clear that numbers never lie, but bad data absolutely does. How do you separate useful KPI truth from misleading KPI theatre?
I was working in the companies where there was no KPIs. I've been working in the company when the KPIs were very personal. It means that the KPIs were set and it was very aggressive to the people, to the employees, that everything depends on this KPI, their salaries, their bonuses. That's very scary. And a lot of people still think that the KPI is something personal to keep an eye on me, to shame me if I do something wrong. But I'm blessed in resource data management in our company because our CEO, he's definitely a leader and he changed this inside the company. He tells the KPI is for the business. KPI is not yours, but the KPI shows where we stand. And if you use Pareto, you know where you need to focus, divide it for the smaller wins. And the KPI is actually something to show if you do the change, it should improve. All is easy. Again, in operations and supply chain, I think so there is, tell me if I'm wrong, around like 112, 118 known KPIs that everyone can put. I think so that's...
Oh my goodness, I've not heard the figure.
We are not there, don't get me wrong. We try to focus on the 8 just in production and warehousing, like operation ones that we have the separate for the finance, IT, cybersecurity, sales, admin. They have own KPIs, but the same rocks. The first, and I think so when you look into the numbers, the first what you need to realize and confirm that the data is validated. What it means to even think about the KPIs, to think about any reports, make sure that the data is valid, that the data is clean. If not, then first deal with this. Just validate the data, make sure it's clean, that everyone is on board, everyone knows how to file it. Yeah. And that, I think so, it's all about the trust, because you can create the KPIs, reports, and something, but if your team members and the management don't trust the data, because beautiful dashboards built on a bad data simply produce beautiful mistakes. Yeah.
Well said, and I cannot agree more. That and you've got to be right. How the person putting that data together, so, almost if everything's green and you just manually go on, oh look, everything's green, we're all good, we're all good. So something's wrong there if it's all green. I want to see something that's red. I want to see something amber maybe, because I don't live in a world where everything's perfect. And if everything's green, then maybe we need to move the goalposts and we need to stretch those targets as well, don't we? um, you'd said that when the KPI got worse, that was good news in one way, because you could see the reality, and that's as you've been talking there. So yeah, I suppose, yeah. How do you stop teams fearing that the truth of the data or not? How do you change that mindset piece? You talked about the CEO saying, look, the KPIs for the business, it's not a personal reflection. How did he or she really get that message across to the workforce?
Involve people. Don't tell the people what to do. Ask them what they think will work. For example, we've been asking in RDM, we've been not told what KPIs should be there. We've been asked what we think to bring our company here, what KPIs matter. Then we came up with our KPIs. Then again, we've been asked by our CEO, why? Why you think? That's my favorite question. Why? While we were answering, when I said, okay, yeah, this KPI that actually it's good to have, but it actually matters. Can we change it? No, we changed, and now we have the proper KPIs. I think so. If you don't tell people what to do, but you involve them in decision making, trying them to understand while they will creating, they will validate the data, because for the first, they will not like the number. When you have the OTD 48% on time delivery, you don't want to report it. You will go and then you will find, oh, actually, we just don't issue the proper due dates. Actually, we just put randomly one as a lead time 1 day, just automatically copy. But we all know that that's not true. Let's fix this. Let's fix there. And next time, it's much better. And they're like, okay, now it's 83. What else I can do to make it better? And then they reach to the point that they can do anything. Then they will tell, you know what, if our ERP system is better, or if we provide the scorecards for the vendors, maybe we can improve, but that happens all the time. They take the ownership that's been on them and pass it to someone else, and then we already escalate it or see how we can fix it. But it's not about them. Yeah.
I love that. We get buy-in from ownership, don't we? From accountability, we build trust. And I think that's really, really clear as you've explained it there, and how you've approached it with the teams. I mean, you also argue that supply chain decisions cannot be made properly if you are cut off from finance, from returns and quality, customer demand, operational detail. And why does supply chain need to see the whole picture?
Because the supply chain touches everything. Because inventory affects cash, COGS, customer behavior affects demand, returns tell you about the quality, finance tells you what you can actually afford, sales tell you what is coming or what plans they have. Then it has the domino effect. Production tells you what is possible, what is not possible. But there's so many risks and everything. And if the supply chain doesn't decide by themselves anything, I think so that the people need to understand the supply chain is actually not deciding anything. Supply chain is flagging the risks in all of the supply chain and provides the connection between the departments and tells them, finance, if you will do this a little bit quicker, then the production can do this a little bit quicker. It just to provide all of this communication, make it smoother, and also create the tools that if some decision is made in a sales, for example, then it's fed to not only the finance, not only to the budget, but also your production knows about that, and they can prepare everything from the risk management. For example, if the sales want to sell or they quoted some project that will happen maybe in 2 years, they think that production don't need to know about that yet because it's not been confirmed. But actually it should be, because they need to tell this to the production. Then the production and the purchasing can check and make sure that all the components that they need in 2 years, they have the contracts on place, that they actually know what's going on with every component. They know what are the lead times, that nothing changed, especially now with this crazy political situation that we're all in. Everything changes all the time. Yeah. And I think so if every department makes decision independently, optimization in one area often creates the problem somewhere else. Let's put it that way. And yeah, the best businesses don't optimize the departments. They optimize the whole system.
Yeah, I think that's a great viewpoint, and I absolutely agree with supply chain being that the most integrated department, if you will, the most integrated function. I do have that view that it sits over. We own the end-to-end supply chain. We own it from our customers and what they want to operational delivery, suppliers, sorry, to operational delivery to our customers. We need to know the whole frame, and we are capable of doing that. So yeah, thanks for pointing that out. You've moved into being a supply chain specialist, from a supply chain specialist, sorry, Anna, into group operations now. And now you're dealing with UK design, overseas Taiwanese manufacturing, US and Malaysian operations, real global footprint. What changed in your role when you started seeing the whole group rather than one part of it? I mean, we've touched upon this, haven't we, from that supply chain point of view, but thinking operationally, what changed in your role?
It became much easier. It became much easier because when you work as a supply chain and with the global operations, you only see everything, but in one location. But now you got the access to actually see and understand from the beginning how, because it's a different markets, there is a different systems. I love to have one, as I call it, supply chain tower. I really love it. I'm obsessed with the supply chain tower, where you can create one main visibility source of truth, where you connect all the dots from the moment when the first decision is made in Taiwan, for example, till it gets to the shelf in the UK or Malaysia or US. It's amazing. You can make much easy. It just, for me, it's much easier because I can get the access to get the answer for any of my whys. Yep.
That's the one that you want, isn't it? That's what you want to be able to move forward. And you described the business as having grown in silos with separate ERPs, some fragmented visibility. I think it touches into that supply chain tower. What were the first cracks that you saw, and why did you start?
I think so. It will speak about the resource data management. It's a great company. It's been here for 25 years, and what the company done, it's amazing. With the amazing people behind, with the systems, with the product, with everything. But because we have new targets, exciting targets, aggressive targets, for the growth, you need to change a little bit. You need to start to look into the systems that react very quickly. And also you need to think about if the volume increases, you don't want just to hire the people. What you want to do, you want to make with increasing of the volume, you want still to make the people who are already working here, their life easier. What you need to do, you need to look to the new ERP systems, AI, and different softwares, automation, even like Power Automate, SharePoints, triage through the AI. It's actually because we really care about the people, because we truly believe the people is the biggest asset in the business. And you need to make their life better, and you need to also develop the people with the journey. You want to be proud that if some person leaves your company and he gets even the higher position somewhere, because how you develop this person in your company, what knowledge you provided. And I think so that's the main thing, and that's where we stand now. We are aggressively developing the people. We're trying to implement the new tool that can make their life easier, less mistakes, happier people, less mistakes, happier customers as well. It just to work already on this small additional nice things for the customer as well, to make their journey more smooth, reduce emails, make a nice welcome packs, pages, how you onboard them. There is a lot of new laws and even ESG, sustainability. It just goes. The company didn't have anything to do this reporting, but now in RTM we do the reporting scope 1, scope 2, scope 3.
Wow, yeah.
Once, yeah, and also as the group, we cannot do this manually, and we cannot put so much resources to de-risk our company as well. And we actually care what we do. All our product is all about helping the businesses to save the electricity, see how they can reduce the carbon print as well. That's why we want to be sure that we as a business, we have this full reporting to our customers, vendors, that, yeah. And I think so that's where we are now, because we can still work how we are at the moment, but it will not support the growth.
I agree entirely. To have that to be outward looking to your customers, to understand the world that we live in, where sustainability, it's not just a buzzword anymore. It's been around a long time, but we all have a part to play in that. And I think you're right. It will start to differentiate in buying decisions. So to be on the front foot with that, I really commend you. And before moving to that global footprint that we talked about, and maybe moving to a global ERP system, I think, did you start with Power BI across some of those different systems to pull the information together and have that, as we talked about before, one source of truth?
Yes, you can come to any company, see the ERP systems, and let's put that way, it's a very small procent of the companies whose ERP systems are amazing, clean, and working perfect. We all heard about the current story. I will not name the company who spent millions on implementing SAP, and then decided to actually put this to the bin and take over the old one. We all heard this. It doesn't. That's why my job is first to see all of this ERP system, all of this broken process. And there is the tool like Power BI. You can actually work with any data if it's clean.
Yeah.
All Excel files, SQL. If you know how to do this, you can create any reporting, any visibility tool that you want. And, in some cases, you don't need to change the all ERP systems. Maybe they are working. You just need to create one, like a report tool that will give you the full visibility. Because a lot of people think like when you start the new ERP project implementation, it always means that you will change. But actually there is always 4 options. You always check first 3 different ERP systems. But there is option number 4 that a lot of ERP implementation companies don't want to include this. It's called no need to change. And I've been there for the half a year. I've been working in a project and doing all the SWOT analysis and everything. And I've been almost crying because in the end it came up, we don't need to change. We just need some additional API tool that will create us. And I was devastated, but that was the truth. That's why, yeah, the Power BI is amazing tool that can make your life much, much easier. And yeah, I'm really obsessed with it.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And you said it again there. It starts with that. I think that starting point is get good data, get the data quality right, make sure your lead times are correct, make sure it's not just in as an arbitrary day when you know it's longer. Make sure that you're actioning on when you've sent out a signal to say I want it on this date, that you're actually confirming it. And that's that starting point. Is it clean the data? And then maybe we can just extract it as a whole and use a separate tool there. There's so much exciting things happening with AI and what we can do with data, and really use computers and systems for what they're for what they're best at, and then we can have people doing what they're best at as well, which is finding out where those improvements are. So yeah, I think that's a really good point you make. What if we stay the same? What could maybe there is a need in that mindset shift to ask the question, why, or what will be different? Yeah, but again, as you said, these are the tools that you've used throughout your career that have helped you make really. It's not complex, is it? It draws out what do we need to know. And final couple of questions now. You believe in shadowing, then helping, then writing the SOPs, so the learning sticks. And what does that say to our audience about how real operational change should be led?
First thing, I think that the people often write procedures before understanding the work, and it's the most frustrating. I think that should be the backwards. For how I work, first I watch, then I help, only then I do the document. I know a lot of people think, oh, it's making hands dirty. For me, it's nothing about that. First of all, I will never tell that my people on the field, actually, that their hands are dirty. No, I really value what they do. The people doing the job every day usually know exactly where the waste is. Sometimes they create it. That's why you need to see this as well. If you involve them from the beginning, and they become the part of building the new process and solution instead of resisting it. Because I seen it everything, as all of us. You try to involve them and create the procedure, then they just understand it. You don't need them to spend a million years of explaining them what they need to do. When you create this together, and also they believe that you, who the person create all of this, actually know what's going on. Because sometimes they just block. Because if you just the new person as like creating the procedures, they just like, what she knows. What does she know? Yeah, and good SOPs don't create good processes. Definitely, I truly believe in that. Good processes can create the SOPs. The
Oh wow,
first,
yes.
the first you create the good process, you see everyone happy, everyone understand, then you document it. You don't go vice versa. That's why my signature thing is always when I start to work in every warehouse, the first 2 weeks I do the inventory stock check by myself, actually being there. Because that's why I want to see the problem documented, first of all, to then show the difference when I have done it. Actually, it's like when you buy the house, you do the snagging. That's exactly what I try to do. I try to do the snagging, walk through, document everything, what I have seen, see how the people just receive the shipments. You close your mouth and you just look without the comments, without telling them anything. Don't tell them that they don't do this right. Maybe they don't know what is right. Yeah, that's why I truly believe that good processes create a great SOPs. Yeah.
That's another great takeaway. I'm going to review these at the end because there's some real nuggets there. But as you said, it's roll your sleeve. It's roll your sleeves up. You've done it. It's how you were brought up in the business. It stood you in really good stead. Why would you not do the same things now? Again, leadership should not exist in an ivory tower. The best, I agree with you. The best we can be is to go, the Japanese word gemba, go where the work is done. We go down to see where the work is done. That's where the value is created with the teams who are making the products and delivering the services. So I think that's really well said, Anna. And the closing question. So if supply chain is the orchestra conductor, what are the first three things a conductor needs before the music can ever sound right?
First of all, the conductor doesn't play every instrument. The conductor makes sure everyone plays together. They start together. And that's exactly what operational leadership should do. Everyone needs to understand the goal, and the goal always, as the operation work together in supply chain with the CEO, because the CEO for me, it's all about the strategy. It's all about the vision and values. I need to make sure that they match and I do them understand correctly. Then my job is to make sure all this orchestra, first of all, everyone knows what instrument they play. That if I play the violin, I'm not sitting behind the drums and asking to play the drums. That's very important as well, to understand that each person is good in something and try that they're on the right seat as well. I'm not telling to out. No, just maybe they're amazing in something else. And that everyone needs clarity on their role. Everyone needs the right information. The communication is the key. Yeah, and I think so everyone needs to trust the timing. That's very important as well. Yeah, it's just like if everything this comes together from the communication, one vision, it's like a orchestra. And I think so the CEO, of course, is the conductor. But as a supply chain, you almost his eyes and hands because you tell what's going on actually on the field. And then the CEO can focus on a strategy because that's their main thing.
Yeah.
That's what they should do. And I need to take all the dirty jobs away as much as I can. Yeah.
Yeah, the direction of travel. That's superb. And Anna, yeah, thank you so much for joining me on this episode. I should have said, yeah, that the title for this that I put together was Supply Chain Conducts the Orchestra, from warehouse floor to group operations, which really describes, I think, your story. And I've got to review some of the key takeaways for me. As you started out with, look, hear your customer. That's just a superb starting point, isn't it? Don't let your processes be a collection of habits. I love that. And the supply chain tower. I've got to do some work and dig into that one a little more. And really key for me, I entirely agree with this as well. Make life easier for the employees and teams. That can so often get lost. Why wouldn't we do this? We're just going to, it just makes so much sense. We will be more efficient, won't we? We'll have happier, more engaged employees if we take that thing, just to take an example of an old system that really doesn't work and really needs updating. Let's them go where the work is done, ask why, solve the problems. Anna, it's been great to have you on the show, and yeah, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you so much. I am happy to see, and I hope some more people gonna join the supply chain. And a lot of companies do understand that every CEO needs one supply chain person, operation, who will do the dirty job and being excited about that. Because it's amazing field. There's so many things you can do. and you just develop your brain every time, every day something new.
I agree entirely. You know, start at the bottom, work your way up. There are so many stories around that, but yeah, you fell into supply chain a little bit. I hear lots of people. I myself fell into supply chain. So maybe don't fall. You know, our message would be don't fall into supply chain. Make an active step to make that your career, because there are great super careers out there, especially if you love a bit of problem solving and love a bit of getting your hands dirty. There's so much there, isn't it? Isn't there? So yeah, thank you again, Anna. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Matt. Thank you.